This is part two of our Pickle Lab. As you'll recall from part one, we did our preliminary work of identifying the different parts of our pickle, the anterior, the posterior, the dorsal, the ventral, the lateral. We did an observation on the pickle, noticing that the color changed from the anterior to the posterior end. We noticed that there was some marks on our pickle. And now we're ready to go to the next step. And once again, wanting to thank the George Westinghouse College Preparatory School in Chicago for your Pickle Lab. We're using it. I've done a couple of minor adjustments to it, but I want to thank you guys for allowing us to use your Pickle Lab. It says use a scalpel to open the ventral body cavity by making a deep eye-shaped incision. This area can be opened like hinged doors to expose the internal organs. Do not, notice how that's bolded, cut the pickle in half. Now, what they want us to do is we're going to unpin our pickle, because they want us to actually turn our pickle over. Here we go. Repin our pickle. Remember, the pins go down at an angle so that they catch as much of the wax as possible and hold this in position. But they want us to cut the ventral side, the ventral being the belly or the bottom of our pickle patient here. I'll be using a number 21 blade on our scalpel, and as a matter of fact, I don't like that scalpel, but that's okay. And we're going to be making an eye. The eye will go across here, here, and down the middle. What we're trying to do is also get it so that we're doing it, as you notice the lines, you all have seen the spears of pickles. What we're trying to get the spears to open up. When we're using the scalpel, again, we're going to hold it like a pencil. I've got these fingers at either end out of the way of the scalpel. We're going to take our scalpel, push it slightly forward, up, down, go down approximately halfway down the blade length of the scalpel, and then we're just going to pull. I do not want to see any sawing action. There shouldn't be any of this going on. This scalpel is sharp enough that we can pull it in one motion. Then we're going to take our scalpel, we're going to go up, down, and we're going to pull it across. And I'm going to turn it around and go backwards just a little bit. Notice the nice smooth motions. Come to the end of our incision, we're going to cut it again. We're going to pull down, turn it around, we're going to pull down. We shouldn't ever pull it towards us, but in this case, as long as we're being very careful and we're keeping our hands out of the way, we should be okay. If I've done this correctly, I should be able to get inside of the pickle, open that up like a door on both sides, just like that. And we're now looking at the interior of our pickle. So, the next question is, it says, use dissecting pins to hold the pickle open. So I'm going to go ahead and take another couple of pins, put one on that hinge door right there, one on that hinge door right there. I now have my pickle opened up for us to take a look at what's going on inside. Next question, sketch your open pickle. Include the interior. So for this one, again, I'm just going to use a pen. I would suggest you use a pencil. I'm going to use a pen. But I have my pickle. I have the wings opened up. I have my end. I have my wings opened up. So there's my basic shape of my pickle. Yeah, that looks about right. And inside of here I have seeds. I have seeds in here. This side didn't come out quite as smooth, so I have it a little bit more muddled. It's harder to see the seeds. And I have a huge hole here where this chunk came out of that hole. And I have a few seeds that I can see there. So there is my sketch of my open pickle. I guess I should take that on across like that to show that line where it's opened up. And Again, we're not looking for a work of art here. We're just looking for you to take the time and go through and figure out what's going on. The next thing on our Pickle Lab asks us, use your probe to carefully remove the seeds without removing the flesh. Record your observations. Now here's one thing on the laboratory. They were calling a teasing needle a probe. Now remember, we discussed this. Teasing needle is this, the probe is this. If you want to use your probe, if you have one, that's fine. If you want to use the teasing needle, that's even better. And this is where the teasing needle comes in. Because what we can do, I move the scalpel out of the way here and turn that out. We can actually use the teasing needle to tease these seeds apart. Then we can use a set of smooth forceps, and I'm going to actually put them on a glass slide here. Set the slide down right there. And I'm going to go ahead and reach in here. I've got a seed. Whoops. It's okay if you drop it. I'm going to put the seeds on my slide. This was interesting because we went and we put these seeds under our camera microscope, and we were actually able to see, and I don't know if you can see very well on the camera like I can here, and they stick to the slide. You don't need to put anything over the top. Here's where the little umbilical cord goes, because remember, seeds are just baby plants. The baby plant, the embryo, would be down here in the bottom, and all of this up here would be food for that baby plant. So you can see this under a microscope very well. So we've taken our seed samples. I also want you to record your observations. Well, it's a lighter green inside. There is plenty of liquid inside. We have the seeds in rows. If you notice that all of these umbilical cords all go to the outer edge of our plant, so they're all attached to the outer edge and they all face in towards the middle. These are the observations. We want you to be looking at the different details that are going on. The other thing that I wanted my students to do is I wanted them to practice using the scalpel, possibly scissors, definitely the teasing needle, and I wanted to see if they could actually get a piece of tissue for us to look at under the microscope. And so the idea was to take the scalpel, insert it between the skin and the tissue underneath, and come on. All right, let's take our handy dandy little sharp scissors here. Let's take our forceps. Let's act like doctors. I'm going to pull that up just a little bit. I'm going to go snippy snip, and we're going to set that off on the slide. Something else for us to look at. So there's a sample of skin on the slide. Now, oh, and look at this here in the middle. This inside body that holds the seeds has been pulling away from the skin over here. So that's another observation that we can take a look at. But the other thing was, how about taking a little slice, if I can get it to cooperate here with my scissors, little slice of that interior tissue, and let's put that down on a slide and take a look at it under a microscope. So this was where I added something to the original laboratory so that students could take a look at even more details inside. My 6th grade students, not quite at the level where we're going to get really in depth in looking at the tissue structures and how they're held together, but more at the level of, let's put this on a microscope, let's take a look at it, let's get your curiosity started. And that's the whole purpose. Besides the fact that we want you to practice using the different tools that we have, and the probe here. Now if we were using the probe, here's what we use the probe for. Probing down into the tissue to see if there's anything in there that we want to bring out. Maybe I want to try and bring one of these deep seeds out. Can he do that? And if I do, is he good enough to balance that on the end of his probe, which he's not? because it's sticky and it wants to stay with Mama. So I'm going to go ahead and use my forceps here, and let's lay that one down. So that's using the probe, forceps, scissors, teasing needle, scalpel, all of these tools. The other thing that we didn't do with our pickle that we should have done at the beginning is we should have taken our ruler and we should have measured our pickle from end to end. In this case, we can still do it even though he's open. Our pickle is 15 centimeters long and our pickle is approximately 4 centimeters wide. And believe it or not, all of the pickles that are in this jar, for the most part, are 15 centimeters long and about 4 centimeters wide. So it is a perfect pickle for this jar, and we would record those results. And this is going to bring an end to part 2. We'll be back with part 3 in just a second.